It's about execution, and that's the daunting thing. And that's why I keep saying when we sat together, well, how can we, after the film, help people make change? And it's really about joining in small local groups, because in groups, that's how it changes. And as the groups start networking, they become more powerful, and then they really force change at a bigger level. That's how changes happen, pretty much always, I think. So,
I was very impressed with the fact that you focus on solutions, and can you tell us what the website is?
Yeah, I really want everyone to feel or understand, and maybe it's American cultural disposition, but talking about bad news isn't adversarial, it's just truth, you know, and that's okay. And you talk about the bad news and you think, okay, well, the environmentalists are always bumming everyone out because they're talking about all this bad stuff that's going on. But, you know, it's kind of what's going on. And so, can we be okay with that and realize that it's not about the environment, it's a human issue. We should do away with the word environmentalism and just say it's a human issue, because the planet is where we live. It's a human home. So forget about the word environmentalism, it's really being a human and how to behave correctly and normally and in a healthy manner. So just a little aside. But on the websites, 11th, those letters are actually on our film. We have two websites. The Action website, where we're networking the local, is 11thhouraction.com, and that's 11th, houraction.com. And then those letters are on the 11th Hour film site, which frankly, I don't even remember the 11th Hour film, 11th, hour, FILM.com.
You really appear to have an amazing amount of tolerance. An amazing amount of also insight into how to kind of gradually pace yourself. And I'd like to know how you do that. Oh. How do you maintain that mindset?
Well, that's very nice of you. I fail all the time. Like upstairs, I was drinking out of a plastic water bottle because I didn't fill this up, and we talked about it. I said, you know, it is so hard, even with all the awareness in the world, in this society, to stick to your guns and make your commitments real. The only thing the word that I would use is forgiveness, because it's about forgiving yourself, this feeling that you're going from, wow, I just woke up and it's horrific, oh my God, and then, oh, I'm going to be this perfect, or I'm going to try, and then you fail, and then you beat yourself up. It's really about forgiveness, and it's about understanding that you can't do it alone. The practice, yes, but you must create a support group, which you already have here, and to move through this knowing that mistakes will be made all the time. Because it's the same thing with bigger companies, too. You know, companies had the same reaction. You know, big Fortune 500 companies now are making zero carbon goals and zero waste goals and all of those things. But if you're DuPont or Ray Anderson's Interface, they call it climbing the mountain of sustainability. You know, it is the one step at a time. You're climbing a very steep mountain. And you're going to make mistakes, but that's part of it. And so if you can come from that place, then I think it's more tolerable, and it's more like running a marathon. You give yourself that latitude, you know, and that way you don't go into shutdown mode. And so that's, yeah.
I was wondering if the food or meat in general, I mean, is that really the best thing for us to do for the environment right now, is cut our consumption?
Again, it's about how it's done. You know, the problem with food in general is that we have over 6 billion people on the planet, and the only reason why we have that many people is because we've taken fossil fuel and turned it into human biomass. And that is literally, I'm ripping that from Wes Jackson in the film, because he's saying, look, the only reason why we even can feed all these people is because we have turbines and tractors, and we can plow gigantic fields, and that has and then we can transport food very far away. So that has enabled us to grow our numbers. So mass industrialized food production is destructive, whether it's beef or corn, soy, you name it, it is destructive. Now, can we change the process of food production to more organic, local-based food production, which definitely includes less meat. It doesn't mean no meat, because if you look at permaculture, you know, it includes meat. You know, it's just a more sustainable, holistic system upon which a bunch of people eat and nurture their food supply. But yeah, if you're growing cows in Brazil and making the patties and shipping them frozen to McDonald's, that's terrible. So it's a matter of how do you do it. And one example, which I'm not an expert on, but Poland, look to Poland. That's what everyone said, look at Poland. They have been able to continue a very locally based food production in providing for their numbers better than we have. And in a way, it was a blessing of being in the communist bloc without access to some of what we had, that they continue to make food for themselves in a much more sustainable way. So I've been told it can be done. I'm not an expert, though. Generally speaking, in the current way meat's made, it is destructive. And it's also unhealthy with the chemicals that they use to raise the cows. I will say, a plug for the oceans, don't eat orange roughy. They're 150-year-old fish. And no one knows that. There's a lot of fish. Fish in general are old. Big fish, like tunas, are 20 years old. Other fish are 50 to 80 years old. And we're killing, you know, it's like eating your grandparents. So it's, no, but it's true. I mean, if you kill an orange roughy, the next time someone else can have an orange roughy will be 150 years from now. So it's not sustainable. So most of the, you know, people are saying, okay, what's a sustainable fish? Catfish, tilapia. They grow in a year. Okay, I'm sorry for all, and by the way, salmon, there was no salmon run this year. I don't know if anyone knows Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, okay. So, I mean, we have to really back off on the fish, even though I love, love, love fish. You know, it's almost interesting because I'm back to, you know, maybe the cow, because it takes 2 years, you know, so it becomes, it's really upsetting. It's hard. Sorry. It's like nuts and beans. I don't know. Mushrooms, really, there's a whole field. Paul Stamets in Washington State is doing incredible research on the strains of mushrooms that can decontaminate chemical weapons, literally, because mushrooms have evolved for millions of years, and they're only single cellular organisms, meaning they have a root system. See, mushrooms are really the fruit of a root system that lives in the soil. And because it's in the soil, it uses all these chemicals to defend itself against protozoa, bacteria, animals, worms, whatever. So over the years, millions of years, it has all these chemical defenses. Now, he's done experiments where VX gas, which is a weapon of war, there's a mushroom that can actually eat the VX and turn it into completely non-lethal substance where you can grow tomatoes and eat them. So you can basically decontaminate chemical weapons with mushrooms. So just if you think about the power of that, right now they're building incinerators in Russia. Incinerators in Russia where they're going to burn this stuff. And the communities around there are going, wait a second, we're not so sure we want that incinerator. What's going to happen with all this VX gas exhaust going? No one really knows. They're doing these studies. Just take a mushroom and for 50 cents you can get rid of the whole thing. So seriously, it's like 50 cents. So instead of $1 billion. The other thing mushrooms can do, and they're testing in your body, it starts chelating and disassembling toxic molecules. So mercury poisoning, bird flu, perhaps even AIDS. Mushrooms go in, the substance, the chemicals in the mushroom can go and disassemble viruses, disassemble these things, and detoxify our body of illnesses. These strains are being challenged at the National Institutes of Health, the Pentagon. And one of my favorite things that Paul Stamets says is he found a mushroom that he believes is completely 100% pretty active against pox viruses.